My cat used to do that and then hit the door. And then when I was growing up, we had like flat door handles. So he learned that he could jump and hit them and open the door. So
Really?
until it opened.
Cats are smart, dude.
Oh yeah, my other cat used to turn on lights. I hated it.
What?
Like she would jump up on the counter, and we had like the light switches that the toggle ones that you push.
Yeah.
And she would jump up on the counter and she'd hit it with her nose and turn on the light. And we'd be like, "Don't fucking! What are you doing?"
That's
like
great.
4 a.m. Yeah, they're like, no, they act like they're a person. They're like, I'm here to do my shit.
Mm-hmm. Which we are here for your amusement, people. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Jeremy. People are terrible. Got Caleb on the line, and we got some fun stuff to talk about this week, ranging from weird news to some Florida man headlines. And then we've brought some hard-hitting topics this week, just kind of as a reprieve from last week getting serious and long. So I'm going to talk about NES games, some of our favorites. Hope you're old enough to even know what that is. Caleb, what are we talking about for your topic?
And probably our most heated debate yet. What the fuck is up with camping?
Yeah, we're going to get into that, guys. I think we got some strong feelings on both sides. As you can see, I'm out in my tree fort. Looking forward to this. So, yeah. All right. Well, this week I've brought some headlines. Oh, man. Hard to even read about. There was this kid who fell face first into a 10-inch kitchen knife, and it got lodged in his skull. It looks like it just went in straight through his fucking face, like right between his nose and his mouth, up into his brain. It looks like, and that sounds horrible, right? Like, what an awful thing to talk about. Obviously, he was okay. We don't talk about people getting murdered on the show too much. So he went into surgery, and they were able to somehow remove this knife that was lodged in his brain that had nicked one of his, like, main arteries, which he brain damage, man, like, just in the first place, that's just dangerous. So this 15-year-old Kansas boy was able to get a 10-inch knife pulled out of his head.
Is like, I mean, I'm assuming, how's his face look? Did they show a picture afterwards?
No, they didn't put it in this article. All I've got's x-ray pictures. I don't want to see what, and I don't know, how do you breathe a sigh of relief if you don't have a nose? Like, it's crazy.
That's unreal, man. Like, it's amazing what modern medicine the human body can take in general.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I knew a guy who got shot in the head, and he literally had like a chunk of his head gone, like it was indented in and gone. And he had some issues, but he lived.
I was going to ask if that, like, there's just some things you don't think you can walk away from. Getting shot in the head, getting stabbed in the face, like, it is crazy, though. And like you said, I guess modern medicine has to play a huge factor in that. And then, obviously, the fact that the mom's instinct wasn't to pull the fucking blade out of his head on her own, that she took him down to the hospital, probably saved his life.
Yeah, if she would have pulled it out, it'd have been over.
Can you imagine taking your kid to the hospital with a fucking kitchen knife sticking out of their face? That had to be horrifying for the mom.
Just seeing that has to be just so traumatic for her, of course, and the kid. It's just, I mean, thank God he's all right. But man, that's because I'm assuming you said it went right in between, like,
yes,
their nose,
right where you're pointing and at that same angle. If you just followed through with that, I know, dude, it could have hit him in the eye.
Well, and then also, too, like, I don't know how big the face is, but a kid's face is smaller, so it's essentially like a giant knife on us proportionally.
And, you know, when they say 10-inch knife, I'm looking at the picture, I'm weighing this thing out. It's not going to make a big difference, but we're talking tip to hilt, not 10-inch blade. Yeah,
but still, I mean, that's... Ooh.
Yeah, it's a 5-inch piece of knife in your face.
Yeah, so usually blade ratio is about half or 40% handle, 60% blade. So that's still a lot of blade in the kid's face.
Oh man, you ever have? Okay, so yeah, apparently the kid was roughhousing out in the yard, playing with the knife, tripped, fell on it, landed on it. Have you ever had a pretty bad accident? What's the worst accident you can think of?
So I was like. I think I was a teenager, and I was carrying a TV down a porch, and I stepped on the cord and I slipped.
Oh shit.
And I looked down and my foot was completely turned inward, and I pushed it back in myself.
Oh no.
And pinched nerves and shit when I did it, and then had to go to the doctor the next day so they could reset it because my ankle had swelled up.
Damn, that is bad. That is bad.
That was probably my worst.
I was a safe kid. Like, I didn't do too many extreme things to hurt myself too bad, but I was riding a bicycle barefoot one time, like you do in Florida. And there was a bunch of lumber, like pine trees had been cut down and laid the same parallel to the road, right off the side of the road. And as I'm riding my bike, my little pinky toe was just dangling off the side of the pedal. And I made that rotation and caught my pinky toe right at the front of one of those pine trees and just snapped my pinky toe completely backwards. Same kind of thing. I'm freaking out. I get off the bike and I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh my God, my toe's dangling off my foot. And my friend Mike Mixon, Mike DeVito was with me. And he got on his bike and he hauled ass back to my house to tell my mom, oh my God, Jeremy's up the road. He just now broke his foot super bad. And my mom, I think her quote to Michael was, "You're so full of shit." And then she gets up there and I'm just like, bah! But I didn't have to do anything to it. I just like popped it back into place, and you can't do much with a toe injury. So that was the extent of it. Not exactly equal to a knife in the face.
Have you broken a lot of bones or not many?
6 orbital fractures in my right eye. Boxing fracture on my left hand where 2 of my knuckles are like basically disappeared, and I think that's it.
So my friend, back when I did music, we're at this little shitty hip hop club, and it's an all white party. So my friends, we're all in head to toe. He bought a white suit because we're going to go perform, and we're all hanging out. It's the one show my wife ever went to. And he goes outside to smoke, and he comes back in just drenched in blood because he got jumped by some other musicians out there.
Oh, God.
And his eye socket was all destroyed, and his eye was just like yellow. And he still did the show. He's like, no, we got paid to be here. I'm going to do the show. So I have pictures of him covered in blood, holding a microphone and a towel, just drenched in blood in a white suit.
Were people into it, like as like a performance?
Oh, yeah. People were like, you guys are so real. And then the song we performed was like... the first song we performed, just because it was already planned on the set, was the song where it goes, "When I step in the club is when the trouble comes in." It was like this super like amped up crunk song, and he's singing that covered in blood in a club, like, "When I step in the club is when the trouble comes in." People fucking loved it.
The white suit, that just adds a whole new level to it. It's like he was a performing tampon.
Yeah, dude, it was unreal. And then after that, then we went to emergency room and sat in the emergency room until like 6 a.m.
You're looking very well tonight.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Nick. You look great too.
Guys, I'm gonna jump in here. How is this possible? I'm looking at 2 identical Nick Cages.
Well, Seth, I can explain if you just calm down!
AI can detect deep fakes by looking for weird facial movements. So Vice wrote an article recently talking about the fact that deep fakes obviously are becoming something that the public is concerned about because they're getting to be very convincing. Have you seen some of these?
Yeah, have you seen the Obama Jordan Peele one?
No.
It's unreal. You watch the video and you're like, oh, that's Obama talking, you know? And he's saying all kinds of crazy weird shit because it's really Jordan Peele, and then it cuts away and it's him. It's unreal how realistic that looks.
Okay, so it's Jordan Peele
just like doing an impression. Yep.
So it's Jordan Peele's voice, or it's actually Obama's voice?
No, it's Jordan Peele's voice, and it just sounds like him, and then it's him moving, and it's like real time capturing his facial movements.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this like they do have the technology where you can put the little dots on your face and then track it to where it's actually like an emoji pantomiming what you're doing in real time?
In this one too, the technology's gotten so good you don't even need the dots anymore.
Entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time. For instance, they could have me say things like, Killmonger was right. You see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele.
Mr. Bean as Donald Trump is pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, I'll have to check these
Yeah.
out. So the software, it's not based on the movements of each individual person. Like, it's looking at facial movements that are unusual or unnatural, but it's not like, if we're talking about a Donald Trump deepfake, it's not comparing the data to other footage of Donald Trump. It's comparing the data to natural facial movements in the first place. So the software works for everyone just by calculating the way, like, if there's any unnatural movements or little blips that kind of bring it into the uncanny valley, the software can identify it.
That's reassuring to me, because actually it's funny you said this yesterday. I was showing these to my wife because she hadn't heard about deepfakes, and I was saying how it's terrifying because of all the misinformation already that's out there and stuff that you have to dig through and further research from even news sources. You have to dig through further research to find a more coherent story. And imagine how bad this is going to be when someone goes, he said this, and you're like, no, he didn't. They pull up a video and they're like, see, told you. And you're like, oh shit, I guess he did.
It could be used for propaganda all over the world too. Like, we could make dictators or leaders of other countries say anything we want them to on our news and just completely control the narrative that way. And this is reassuring that they found software that can identify it. But, you know, to that I would just counter, well, then the software that creates it's just going to have to get a little more sophisticated.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because it's propaganda. It could, we already live in we always have. There's always propaganda, and people who think America's immune from it, we're not. We are constantly under propaganda from all sides, and this is another tool for that, and that's terrifying because I think we're both people who try as hard as humanly possible to look for the truth always, and this could muddy that up even more.
Yeah, 100%. All right, well, we'll go ahead and move on from that one to the bizarre contest in which Russia involves two people just slapping each other until one gives up. Did you see this?
No, this sounds great.
Oh man, it is like the champion. It's no shocker. He looks like the Mountain from fucking Game of Thrones. The dude probably weighs 350 pounds of just, you know, they look fat, but you know underneath it, he's just built like a brick shit house, you know?
That like Michael Clark Duncan body, but
Yeah.
like kind of fat, but kind of built too.
Yeah, 100%. And he will just rock, like, cock back and fucking whack these dudes in the face and just open-handed knocking dudes out, just concussion after concussion. And it's like he is he is a contender. Most of these dudes look like they just want to get up and get hit in the face because there's no fucking way they could win. Not dudes like my size, but like, you know, maybe 200-pound dudes that are like 6 foot tall that are just walking up in there like they got dared from their buddy to go in there, you know what I mean? And they're just getting fucking wrecked. What a crazy contest. Only in Russia, right?
That sounds amazing. Have you ever seen anyone get slapped to sleep?
No.
I have.
Really?
We were downtown. It's horrible because there's this very flamboyant gay man, and there was this very butch lesbian woman, and she gets up in his face and they start yelling, and she's like puts up her dukes like she's ready to fight him, and he just slaps her. It didn't even look like that hard of a slap, but he cocked back and slapped her and out. I mean, it looked like an MMA fight. Like she was done.
Holy shit. I know, like, if you cup your hand over somebody's ear, you can fuck them up bad with a slap. Like, if you hit them straight over the ear, yeah. Not that you should try it at home, but yeah, apparently if you hit somebody with cupped ears on both sides, it's just like lights out for them immediately.
Yeah, my slap technique probably isn't the best.
No. I use open fingers. It's a real unique technique, and I just hit them with the tips of all 4 fingers. Not very effective. You run high risk of breaking fingers, but you know. All right, let's get out of this weird news segment and head on down to Florida. This week's Welcome to Florida headlines. We're going to kick it off with Florida man pleasured himself in a hotel room window while watching other guests pass by.
Naturally.
Seaside Village of Dennisport in Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Colon cancer
Wait,
screening
hold
for
on a
people 50
second.
and older.
Oh, okay. This is a Florida Man headline because the man was from Florida, but apparently he was in Cape Cod.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, this is not adding up. So
Up to Florida to them.
yeah. Route 28, which runs south from the town of Eastham to the city of... I don't know any of this shit, but they saw a naked man standing up against the window of his room. The exposed man was looking at people passing by his room in the popular tourist destination as he pleasured himself, the guest claimed. It's not clear how many individuals complained about seeing the man or what they witnessed. Well, I think it is clear what they witnessed.
Yeah, they witnessed him pleasuring himself. That's kind of right at the front.
Yeah, you don't need to get much more specific than that.
So apparently I just have a story for everything today, but I went to this wedding 2 years ago, downtown Denver, on top of a building. And this girl, she's like real uppity, like invited everyone and their mother. So we weren't even that close, but I was there. And there's like 250 people on top of this rooftop. And all of a sudden we see people looking and pulling out their phones. I'm like, what the fuck are they looking at? And I look up, and across from us there's this hotel, and there's this older woman, like she's like up against the window, completely naked and like posing, like obviously someone's taking pictures of her, like her husband or something, and she's there for like 5 minutes. It's unreal. And we're just like watching this lady completely naked, just like posing and like bending over. And then all of a sudden she looks down and realizes that there's 200 people down there just staring at her. And I just duck behind this curtain real quick. It's the best thing ever.
Damn, that's good. Yeah, I've worked at hotels. I've done a lot of service industry jobs. So I've definitely seen naked people to and fro rooms. I worked at this one called Paradise, which is like a tiki bar, like a beach bar, and it's like one of the roughest spots on Pensacola Beach. It's a great place to watch the sunset because it's right on the water, but then like the later it gets, just the much more rough it gets until it's just nothing there but the creme de la creme of white trash people, and it would always just get out of control. I saw so many crazy things there, but yeah, there was definitely at least one time I can think of a completely butt naked woman like walking around in the parking lot and people calling to complain like there's some crazy drunk lady out there naked, and it's never the people you want to see naked, like that's the big takeaway.
Never is. Like it's like when they do those like nude parades and shit, or Pride. We had Pride, and there's so many naked people at Pride always, and it's never like people who are just like, damn, you're a specimen of any sort.
No,
it's always the worst people.
Yeah. like real bodies, like what people
Real
actually
bodies.
look like, not on Instagram. It's disgusting.
People like
you know
myself
what I mean?
just walking around all flabby.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. But so the guy, I guess, didn't want to go out without a fight, so the cops had to use a stun gun on him while he was in various states of I guess trying to masturbate on guests. Dude, what would you do? I mean, obviously you can't contact the person. Would you yell at him through the window?
I don't know. I mean, so I just don't know how he was getting off to that. I guess it was the idea of him and people seeing him. Is that the only thing he could think of? Like watching people walk by on the street. I don't know how sexy that is to get you off.
No. I think it's the violation.
I think so too. I think it's knowing people are watching him, knowing it's that whole thing.
How weird. Yeah, I think I would bust out my camera and take a picture.
Oh, 100%.
I think that would be my first instinct. Like, look at this motherfucker right here, and pull out my camera and take a picture, walk it over to the front desk and be like, this is what your hotel is? Is this the kind of establishment you want families coming to?
I did see a homeless man once.
Jerking it?
It was in Seattle, or was it in Hollywood? It was one of the two, but just literally like sprawled out on a sidewalk, laying completely down, just jackhammer fisting it like crazy.
Jesus Christ. I mean,
but I guess, where else are you going to masturbate? You're homeless.
Fucking alley? I don't know, not the street.
Maybe it was performance art. If it was Hollywood, you never know.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Good point.
No, it was clearly a homeless man, but still.
Florida man throws feces at judge during trial, misses, and is acquitted. This is beautiful. Yeah, you don't normally get away with stuff like that. The guy was handicapped. Like, so we got to start.
Oh,
He's in a wheelchair.
okay.
He got convicted for, got charged with burglary. And at the criminal trial, it's like he's a 33-year-old man and he's sitting in his wheelchair next to Miami-Dade Circuit Judge Lisa Walsh when officials say he tried to throw his excrement at her. It did not reach her. There were no jurors present during Friday's incident. So this happened behind closed doors. He threw doo-doo at the judge and missed. And then the jury came in, and I suspect, and this is not to say anything negative, I suspect the jury he earned their sympathy because of his disability, maybe. I don't know.
I could see that.
Either that or the judge was just a total cunt. But it's unclear whether he'll face any charges involving the feces. But he did get away for the burglary charge. However, he still faces another trial in a grand theft auto case. So despite the fact he is the definition of handy-capable.
Yeah, he Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah, man. Yeah, he gets around.
What the hell? He already got to wheels. Why is he still a more?
You remember the footage of this lady? If we would be talking about this story today, I would have used the graphics 100%. But you remember like a year ago, there was that lady that came into a fast food restaurant and they wouldn't let her go to the bathroom because she wouldn't buy anything? I think it was at McDonald's. She's standing in line and she starts reaching back there. No. She leans up against the trash can and starts shitting right there.
I do remember.
And grabbing handfuls of deuce and throwing it at the employees.
So first of all, I think it's kind of stupid. I get the policy; it's to prevent like homeless people, But like, if you run in and you're like, you got the bubble guts, and there's a line, I need to shit. I don't need to sit here and order a fucking soda.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's kind of a dumb. I get the policy; it's to prevent like crazy people and homeless people from just using your restrooms all day, but it's kind of a stupid policy in another way.
Yeah, I don't know what you do about that. Like, if you're having to pick, if every time you were worried that, like, if I say no, this person's going to start lobbing shit at me, then people would start to So, all right, guys, that said, this is a call to action. I hope we don't get in trouble for this. But if you ever need to go and you go into an establishment and they turn you down, I'm going to need you to just do your business right there and just throw it at whoever said.
It.
Yes, because if we set this precedent, there will not be a bathroom in the world that is not public.
They'll just have open stalls outside even. They'll just be prepared.
You didn't hear it from me, folks. All right, last story in the Florida Man headlines. This one, I got a kick out of this. There was a Florida man who was arrested for drug possession while trying to catch them all. He was out on the Pokemon Go app. And I don't know exactly where he was at, but this was in Orlando. And they ended up, let's see. A man was arrested for drug possession while catching Pokemon at a Florida park. According to the sheriff's office, a deputy made contact with 29-year-old Jonathan Ortiz, who parked in a closed county park catching Pokemon. Okay, so he's in a closed park. The deputy observed marijuana in plain view and said that a search was conducted and his vehicle had, check this out, 3.5 grams of coke, 5.5 pounds of THC oil, and 1 pound of marijuana.
What the fuck?
Why are you riding like that, dude?
That's a lot to be riding with. Like, that's definitely distribution. That's not personal use.
Nah, man. Once you start to hit.
Could you imagine me like out slanging and be like, hold up real quick, I gotta catch this fucking Mewtwo.
Yeah, dude, you're like on the trap, slow rolling through neighborhoods. Like, it's such a bad idea. You don't want to ride with that shit in the first place. But when you're doing something like this, it just seems like it's just the dumbest idea in the world. 3.5 grams of coke, that might be personal consumption. I don't know. I don't know what kind of coke habit this guy has, but there is no way 5.5 pounds of THC is not distribution.
No, there's no fucking way.
That's a crazy amount of money that dude got caught with.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot.
My math is not good, but it's, I mean, $10,000 that the dude had on him probably.
Probably.
Holy shit.
That's a lot.
And I can't tell, like, I'm looking at the picture right now. It shows like his whole haul. Yeah, what an idiot. So do you play Pokemon Go?
I did when it came out when I very first moved to Denver because I had nothing to do. I had no furniture in my house. My wife was still back in New Mexico, so I had Pokemon Go on my phone. So I would just walk around my neighborhood because I had no TV, nothing. So
Did you discover some shit?
Yeah, well, the thing that was cool about it is like it really. I discovered. I mean, yeah, if I'm Pokemon, but who gives a shit about that? I discovered like cool spots to eat and shit.
Yeah, you were on the same page as me. Like you discover the outside world as a byproduct of playing this game.
Yeah. Like I found some cool spots and areas that I was like, oh, there's this whole little like mini strip area with bars and shit that's 2 seconds from my house that I had no idea was here.
Yeah, my buddy Holden is actually still plays it, and it's like some games, you know, I can dismiss as dumb, like Candy Crush or something like that. Pokemon Go, it's brought together communities. It gets people out of the house and walking around and shit. So like that's cool.
It's a super cool game. I actually think it's really, really cool and awesome and different. No, I think it's really cool.
I've played it. I don't know, probably for about 30 minutes, maybe an hour. You know, collectively, I never got super into it. It like you actually got to like get up and get out of the house, and that's not my scene, man.
So this is the dumbest reason why I loved playing it, because you can rename the Pokemon when you catch them, and my goal was to like name them all stupid puns. So I would catch something, and that was more like there was a seal one, and I named it Sealy Dan. It's all like dumb, cheesy shit like that, and that was my game. I could care less about them. Like, what fucking stupid name can I have in my phone?
That's good. Yeah, you just now reminded me of something that I forgot to put in the notes. But there was have you heard about the squirrel D's nuts?
No.
Hold up, let me pull this up. I meant to put it in the notes. This is not a Florida man story, but we're not going to not talk about it, because when there's a squirrel named D's nuts that's being accused of being on crystal meth, you can't look away from that.
In Alabama?
Yes. Attack squirrel suspects calls into Florence radio station, claims to be reunited with squirrel. So there's this guy who's accused of feeding his squirrel meth, and he wants the public to know the claims aren't true. The man claiming to be Mickey Polk called into the radio station Tuesday night saying the Limestone County Sheriff's Office made up the story that he and the squirrel had been reunited. So the dude has still got a warrant out for possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of paraphernalia. Apparently, people in his neighborhood said that he had a squirrel that was a trained attack squirrel, and that it was so amped up because he gave it crystal meth, and it made him aggressive.
From looking at this guy's picture, he totally looks like he would be the type of person who would own a squirrel, but he also looks like that person who would feed a squirrel meth.
What's funny is, like, if you go through his history, and I don't know, I don't want to create any sort of narrative here. He named the squirrel D's nuts. That's the original point. So he named the squirrel D's nuts, and he found it as like a tiny little baby. It had been abandoned, and he brought it in, and he like nursed it back to health with a Visine bottle full of milk. He was like feeding it little drops of milk at a time, got it back to where it was like up and running. It seems like he was actually like had a close relationship with this squirrel, but he said let's see.
So I'm watching a video of the actual squirrel. It just, it looks aggressive. It looks like a fucking squirrel. Like squirrels, have you ever seen a squirrel in a cage? They're crazy.
Oh yeah. Real uppity little creatures.
Yeah, it just looks like a squirrel. Like it's definitely jumping out the cage like it wants to attack someone because it's a squirrel.
And if you want to see a squirrel on meth, that's what you're going to see, because squirrels look like they're on meth anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
there's no way to drug test them.
If you were like, if it was a real docile squirrel, well, no, there's videos of him just petting it. So I mean, it looks like it's his pet, but then it looks like it's aggressive to other people. Yeah,
it loved him, and that's like the police like released it back into the wild. He said he went to where the police released it, and it was up in the tree, and he called it, and it just ran right down and fucking got back with him, and he's reunited with his squirrel. It's kind of sweet.
Happy ending to all these stories.
The squirrel isn't a trained attack squirrel. He's an asshole. He's got testicles, and that's all it takes. You don't have to give a squirrel drugs or anything like that, he said. Yeah, I don't know.
That was kind of my point. Yeah, I kind of agree with him, honestly. I'm like, it's a fucking squirrel. They're insane.
I mean, dude, if he was feeding the squirrel meth, that's wrong. I think we can agree. You don't need to feed little animals meth. It seems like a waste of drugs, if you ask me.
Yeah, I just don't think he would do it. I mean, I just don't see the end game. But we've covered so many crazy stories on here. Who knows? Maybe
This would not be the most far out thing we've talked about. It's just something about an attack squirrel named D's Nuts that's high on meth. That should be a Florida man story. I guess we're going to go ahead and talk about some NES classic games. I know you're a little bit younger than me, but did you have this console?
The actual NES, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You played it growing up?
Experience. Yeah, I did. I have experience with the NES Classic because I have one at work too.
Oh, do you currently play it?
The Mini? Yeah, I play a couple games on it.
My friend Karen at work is bringing me the NES Mini tomorrow to work because I've just been on a fucking shopping spree lately. I'm like buying every toy that I want right now so that I can have it and not like want it anymore, because wanting stuff sucks. And there's not like, I'm not an infinite want person. There's only a couple things that I really want. So I'm like, I just get them and then pay them off. I'll be good. But so I got my guitar. I ordered this tablet that ended up sucking. So I sent it back, but got a stabilizer for my camera. And then I'm like looking around and I found this, it's a SNES and it's got 7,000 games on it. It's all of the Atari games, all the Nintendo games, all the Sega Genesis games, all the old generation consoles, all on one device that had been modded out. And it's like $140. It comes with 2 controllers. I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, I want to get that thing. But I haven't yet. So in the meantime, I'm going to play with this NES Mini. But yeah, growing up, man, that was where it was at, was the original Nintendo. It came out in like 1986, maybe?
Something. Do you have do you have a smart TV, like an Android TV?
No.
Oh, because as I said, mine, I just threw emulators on my TV and have a Bluetooth controller to my TV. And you can download it for free. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, we'll need to talk about that then. That is interesting because I definitely... TV, another thing. It's on my want list. I was planning on waiting till Black Friday just because I imagine I can get a really good deal on it if I do that. Okay, in Japan, it was released in 1983, which is crazy, but it didn't hit the U.S. shelves until September 1986. And, of course, it came with the combo of Super Mario, or Mario Brothers, and Duck Hunt. And I wore those 2 games out, man.
Me too. That little bastard dog that laughs at you.
Yeah. And it was pretty cool technology, man. Like that laser gun was so much better than the fucking Power Glove.
Oh, the Power Glove was so bad.
I don't even know why they released that thing. That was just a stain on the legacy of Nintendo.
But half of Nintendo's catalog is a stain on their legacy.
So I know that you are more of a PlayStation guy than a Xbox guy, but do you not have that kind of what? You're gonna step in?
No, I owned the only Xbox I haven't owned is the current one. So like it's just this Xbox One I think is pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I usually own both PlayStation and Xbox.
I was a Nintendo, I don't want to say Nintendo loyalist, but all the way up to the GameCube, I had every Nintendo console, and I feel like they were competitive for a while. You know, the Nintendo 64 is a great console, but the original Nintendo games, it was all about the 2D platformers and memorizing patterns, right?
Yeah, it was all timing, everything.
And that's something that element of gaming doesn't exist so much anymore. Like you can definitely die on games now.
It's all the indie games that do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like mainstream games, no.
So let's just kind of start going through some of them. I actually just started looking at lists of different favorites lists, top 50 best Nintendo games, and trying to jog my memory of ones that I had and ones that I just played all the time. And thinking back on it, I feel like atmosphere was such an important part of the game because the mechanics were very similar in all of them. Like, for example, Castlevania and Ninja Gaiden, very similar games.
I would agree.
just slightly different skin on them. But I love both of those games so much. Like the music in Castlevania was just so good, and it was super challenging.
Except for, was it Simon's Quest? I went and played that on the mini the other day. The Castlevania Simon's Quest. There are like some like modern RPG elements in there, like NPCs that you go talk to and get dialogue. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, Castlevania 2, I think, is Simon's Quest, and that one was interesting because it was one of the first games where you couldn't just go right. Like, you could turn around and go the other way, and that was, like, some groundbreaking shit back in the day because you always just go right. And this game is like, no, you can't do that. There's this weird map. But I had a hard time with Simon's Quest because of that very thing. It was, like, too free-roaming for my little brain to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it was a game I didn't appreciate until I went back and played it because then you go, oh, wow, this really had a lot of influence in modern gaming.
Contra, man. Contra was a really good game.
Contra is a bitch. I played Contra Super C recently, and that game is ridiculously hard.
Oh yeah, Super C, man. That shit is hard. That's the first Super Nintendo version, I think, right?
No, Super C's on NES.
Oh, it's Contra 3, right?
It's Contra 3 or something like that. Yeah,
that's right.
That thing is ridiculous.
That was one, because my older brother was more at the age to play a lot of these games. Well, that's not true, but like he was the one who was like a young teen, and then we were like kids. We were like 6 to 8, 9, 10 years old, you know? So like there were a lot of the games that were
older.
Yeah, right. And Metroid was a game that I loved watching, but as a kid I couldn't really advance too much in it, and then I went back and played it years later, and I've beat it now. But like the music in that game is so fucking good.
That's a game I don't know if I've ever actually sat down and played like recently. Like I played it probably for a few minutes as a kid, but like it's a complete blind spot in my gaming history.
What about you, man? What are some that you like gravitated to?
Punch Out is great.
I think that might be the best Nintendo game of all time.
I would say Super Mario 3 is the best. I think that game holds up so well.
I don't mean to bury the lead, but my number 1, Mike Tyson's Punch Out, number 2, Zelda, number 3, Super Mario 3. I think those games are just all fucking A+.
I would say, for me, Zelda, I like Zelda more as I respect it than I actually like it. It's one of those games. I would say my top is definitely Super Mario 3, then Punch Out. And then, this sounds weird, I don't really like any of the other NES catalog.
Really?
No, I even back then, I was never a Nintendo fanboy. Like, I always liked Sega more, and then when N64 came out, I was more PlayStation. Like, Nintendo just never spoke to me. It still doesn't. I love my Switch, but I do not play any Nintendo games on it.
Ghosts and Goblins? Did you ever play that one?
Ridiculously hard game.
So fucking hard. Almost impossible. I could never get past, like, I don't know, the 3rd level or something like that. And I've even gone back and tried to play it, and it's too much shit coming at you.
I played it at a Japanese arcade, and it was awful. Like, it's so hard. You die every 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there was those games kind of like, they were the side-scrolling flight games. There was one in particular called Life Force. Life Force was a good game, like an arcade game.
And then there was like the top-down ones. There's one Dragon something. It's a Dragon NES game.
Top-downs. Yeah. Similar to Zelda?
Yeah, but it was like a flying game. It was...
Yeah. There was Legendary Wings was one where you're like little angel guys with laser guns.
Dragon Spirit.
Yeah, dude.
The first game that's the first game I ever beat.
Is it really?
Yep.
That's a great game because as you upgrade,
Dragon Spirit.
Yeah, man. As you level up, you get more heads, you get more like firepower. Mm-hmm. That's actually a really good game. I didn't even think about that one.
That might be my 3rd favorite game on NES. Now that I think about it.
Double Dragon.
I liked Double Dragon at the time. Going back and playing it doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, a lot of those beat 'em up games. I mean, even if we're talking about Final Fight, it's just fucking pressing the button over and over and over again.
And I loved all those, like Streets of Rage, Final Fight, all of those, Battletoads, and Battletoads is so hard.
So, dude, this is one that I wasn't aware of as a kid, and it was through emulators years later that I played River City Ransom. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it. I've actually never played it.
It is great. And it, like, I would have put it in my top 3, but I don't feel like it is truly representative of me because I didn't grow up on it. Like, it's not a game that I even had on the Nintendo, but it's basically, it's like Double Dragon. Only...
I have played this.
Have you?
Back in the day. Yes, actually, I loved this game as a kid.
You go into like sushi restaurants and buy sushi to level yourself up. You can go and get like weapons and you fight all these rival gangs. It's almost like the Warriors, only you're these two characters. It's dope, man. It's like a really good game.
Did you ever play the original Metal Gear?
Oh yeah,
NES.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I loved that game. Which is just the cover of that's pretty funny. So if you pull up the cover, it's Hicks from Aliens.
Yeah, 100%.
They traced over it. They literally traced over a picture of him.
Yeah, that is a really egregious example of taking a character that pose and everything is straight up a still from Alien. Yeah, from Aliens.
Crazy.
Excuse me. Mega Man. What about the Mega Man series?
Ooh, Mega Man is solid. They are solid games.
Good music in them also. And I just like, the thing is, because so many games were so similar, having like different mechanics or different elements to them, like the Mega Man being able to adapt the powers of the villains that he previously beat, and you only can use a certain character's ammunition to beat another boss, so you have to figure out which order to beat the levels in so that you can use the most effective way to kill the next boss. I thought those games were super fucking cool, and some of the best music in video game history comes from those Mega Man games.
This is a stupid thing that I used to love to do as a kid. When you have like they load screen by screen, it's not really a side-scrolling game. Like you go to the edge of the screen and then it slides over.
Yeah, yes.
Jump into the next screen, so you'd like freeze in air, and then the screen would slide over.
100%.
It's like my favorite thing.
Dude, that's funny you brought that up. That is like essential.
Yeah, like you have to do that.
That's not a side scroll game, huh?
It is, but it's like you literally like how most side scrolling games like Mario, you move.
It scrolls.
Like it's one square, you get to the end, and then it shifts.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end, and it shifts. It's weird.
That's
Going
a
back and
really
playing
good
it's
point.
Like jarring.
That I would have always considered that a side-scrolling game, but it's antithetical to what side-scrolling is, especially when you think about Mario Brothers.
It like is, but with a different way of loading it. It's very weird.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, Super Mario 3, man, this game is so fucking good. They had all these different elements, like the world map and all of this stuff. Another game with great music. And one of the best marketing campaigns that I can remember, because The Wizard was a 2-hour advertisement for Super Mario 3.
I totally forgot about that.
Fred Savage and Jenny Lewis, actually. The musician Jenny Lewis plays the little girl in it. I didn't know that until like a year ago when Jenny Lewis's last album came out. But she's the little redheaded girl in it, and Fred Savage's little brother, I think he might be autistic. He's like somewhere on the spectrum, and he wants to get to California so that he can play this new video game that's coming out, and they take this road trip to get to this gaming convention. Crazy, like a gaming tournament back in the day, and they're unveiling this new Mario Brothers game, and the graphics are gonna be like fucking mind-blowing. And do you remember seeing that game and just being like, holy shit? I
remember thinking like video games can't get better looking than this.
Right?
I saw that.
Yeah, man, like this is the top of the fucking mountain. This is
like, it was mind-blowing when you saw that.
Yeah, and dude,
you're like, it looked like a cartoon. Oh my god! And now going back, it doesn't look like a cartoon.
No, it looks rough. I mean, especially like Super Mario Brothers for the SNES looks great. They did a little bit of cell shading and all that shit in it, but Super Mario 3 really did push the technology in gaming forward quite a bit. I'm surprised you didn't like Zelda. Go ahead.
So Mario, I would say, holds up really well, but I play it with one of my friends at work, and me and her have been, because you can save on it. We've been literally playing the game from the beginning, like on our last break of the day. It holds up extremely well. But Zelda, I don't know. Zelda is like, I love the mechanics. I love like the idea of it. I love the narrative idea. I just never found it fun to play.
I can see that. I can see that. And it's another game that loads one square at a time. Like, you're on one map, you walk to the left, it slides over to the next map, or maybe it fades out and then fades back in. But it's something like that. It's the same kind of deal.
It slides.
And I think it's a really fun game. It's like, without the kind of guides like Nintendo Power and all that stuff, I don't know that I would have ever been able to find my way through the graveyard to get that silver sword. It's like some weird...
and apparently there's a way you can like literally beat the game in like 5 minutes if you know how to do it.
Really?
Yeah, there's like certain way to go that you can like go a certain way, and like it messes up the map, and you're like, oh, I beat it.
Well, yeah, that's that. What was it? Super Mario Brothers. The original Super Mario Brothers. You can use the pipes, right?
The like where you jump up at the top. You can do that in 3 as well, and you can warp, and there's all these like hidden little things that are just in that game.
Yeah, that was cool. Where like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, it doesn't have the story element to it. It doesn't have the, like, to me, that thing that I was mentioning up at the top about like creating an atmosphere and a feeling so much, but it had the best mechanics out of any fucking video game on the original Nintendo, and it was probably the funnest to play because of that. But once you know the patterns, the challenge is gone.
Yeah, well, going back and play it, that game is still rough. Like, I still know the patterns, and I get far into it, but like, I can't beat it in one sitting.
It's like, I think where it starts getting hard for me is the second Don Flamenco. Like, when you fight him the second time is when it starts to get difficult, and then Soda Popinski is pretty fucking hard to beat. The guy after him, Sandman, almost impossible to beat, and then Mike Tyson's even more difficult than that. But yeah, it's like that home stretch right at the end when Piston Honda comes back and has like the second time the characters cycle through is when they have just like really stepped their shit up, and it gets like just faster, you know?
Oh, it gets ridiculous. It's a incredibly good game though. Like, it does hold up so well. It's such a simple gameplay loop that just works.
And great character design. It's kind of one of those things, like, it's a Japanese game. I think Japanese developers made it and stuff, but like you look at some of the portrayals of certain characters and maybe a little questionable these days, but I didn't even think about that shit as a kid.
Japan, just in general, like, have you ever seen black characters on DBZ?
No.
Oh, I'm gonna pull up a picture while we're talking about this.
Wait, is that actually a black character?
You can find anyone's. I'll just find any like black hair, and it's one of those things. Is it quote unquote probably racist? Yes. I think it's just more like not exposed to a culture they don't know. I'll pull up a Dragon Ball character. So you're talking about that one guy, the
black one with the turban.
No, that one. No, he's like an alien. I'm gonna pull up an actual.
Okay, because that's what I was thinking. Oh,
it's not much better.
Oh no, that's straight up minstrel show.
Yeah, like it's one of those things you see. You're like, oh, this is rough, you know. But that's how Japan is. Like, they don't. I mean, you think of a culture that's more homogenized. They're not gonna be as well rounded, you know. Like that's how they draw their black.
It kind of makes me feel better about, like, it kind of lets America off the hook a little bit.
Character. There's their Native American character.
Nice.
Like, that's just how they do things out there.
Yeah, it's fine. In their cartoon versions, I mean, it's whatever. It's whatever. I think
yeah.
The Russian getting drunk at the end of the games, it's pretty funny. Soda Popinski, of course it's Soda Pop, because they couldn't do anything too controversial. Oh, and I'm sure you know this. This is another kind of funny thing about Japan and the way that they develop games. Like, M. Bison was originally the boxer on Street Fighter.
M Bison. Which one's M Bison?
M. Bison is the end boss, the militaristic. He wears all red. He was the end boss before Akuma in the Street Fighter series. And
Okay. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Yeah.
And Balrog was M. Bison. So they switched the names over because of licensing, because M. Bison was too close to Mike Tyson, which was clearly the model for Balrog, who originally was M. Bison. Yeah, dude, if you look at the boxer, that's fucking Mike Tyson.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. That makes actually perfect sense.
So they just swapped out the names there to make it a little more conspicuous, but they definitely have done things like that over the years, because originally it was more made for a Japanese audience and they didn't think they had to like worry about those kind of things. But when it became like this international thing, all of a sudden they had to like start taking into consideration the way the rest of the world would be looking at their stuff. And I don't know, man. It's the Nintendo isn't the best console. In my mind, my personal favorite is the SNES. I fucking love that console. I think it's got so many good games on it. I know you prefer the Genesis. I think we've talked about it a little bit. I think they are both so distinctively different.
I would agree.
But just like for me, the SNES like opened up my world to gaming in like a more serious way.
I think just for me, and you go back and you play Genesis games versus NES games, Genesis games are much darker, much more serious. And that's just always, man, we've talked about this before. I've always liked movies like that, comics like that. Even when I was a kid, I didn't like kiddie stuff. I mean, sure I did, of course, but I mean, like if I had the choice, I would always go darker. And I think it's because I had same thing, older brother who was into that shit. So it kind of like, I didn't want to mess with the kiddie stuff. I wanted like blood and guts.
Nintendo did play it safe and family friendly even back, but like now they're synonymous with like family gaming and stuff like that. But I remember when the SNES came out, when Mortal Kombat came out on the SNES and it came out on Sega, and even back then Nintendo had decided they didn't want to do the blood, so they had like gray spatter coming out of the characters.
Crazy right now, there's a game on the Switch, on Nintendo Switch, that is unedited, that on PlayStation is edited for being too sexual.
What's the game?
I forget what it is. It's like one of these like weird Japanese like panty rating games, you know? And because Sony's gotten really weird about this stuff, and they've actually started cracking down. And Nintendo's gotten the other way, where they're like, hey, you can put it, like, we won't make it, but you can put it on our console.
Oh, sure.
And it's so weird to be like, really? You go to the Switch, the Nintendo console, to get the unedited one, and the PlayStation to get the edited one? It's pretty weird.
Yeah, that seems like total reversal of the norm.
Yeah.
Nintendo got so much shit for the Mortal Kombat Blood scenario that they corrected it after that. But it does just show, even then, they wanted to be like a family gaming console more than the competitors.
Is a brilliant company, and I still stand by this. I love my Switch. I play my Switch religiously. I always say Nintendo is not a video game company. It's a toy company that makes video games instead of a video game company. And they just dominate that market in the smartest way. I think they're brilliant with their marketing and their whole philosophy.
Yeah, that's a really good point. They're really not a gamer console. Like gamers, no. Nintendo's been out of that conversation for a while, but they've managed to scoop up everybody else. Like they're more casuals, It's brilliant because like people go like, oh, Sony competing with this. Sony and Microsoft are competing. Nintendo's doing its own game, and it's doing very well at it. And I think they're content there. I don't know if they'll ever hit the numbers that like the PS4 does, but they will hit. They dominate. Dude, do you remember Track and Field for the original NES? It had that big pad that you ran on.
Yes, I do.
That was all right. Way better than the Power Glove.
Much better.
But me and my brother, we cracked the code. You get down on your knees and you slap the A and B pads with your hands like you're fucking running super fast. Yeah. But there was Track and Field too, man. There was like 60 different, maybe 30 different games in there, from like pole vaulting to canoeing. Like it was pretty cool because there was a lot of games all in one, and the graphics were pretty good on that Track and Field too as well.
Yeah, that was a game that I don't know if I owned it or not, but I remember playing it.
There was like an arm wrestling. There were so many different games under that one. It was like the kind of the OG Wii Sports, but
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the precursor to that.
yeah, I do. I agree about the kind of being a toy company. I remember the original laser gun for the NES was good, whatever they actually call it. I don't remember. But then the Super Scope 6 came out for the Super Nintendo. It was that big ass cannon. Did you ever use that thing?
I do remember that. Yes.
Oh, it was the jam, dude. It was super cool. There was a game called Mech. What the fuck was it? Let's see.
I know what you're talking about. That used that one. It was Battle.
Super Scope 6 robot game. It was almost like mechs. And they're like flying at you and you're sliding from side to side. Super Scope, SNES. What's the game?
Battle Clash.
Battle Clash?
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Super good game. Side-scrolling rail shooter. And the bosses looked super cool on it. That was just like such a cool upgrade. But other than that, man, they experimented a lot, and I think that's kind of what led them to like to even have the technology to do the Wii, which I played the Wii a little bit because Victoria would play it, and that's why I've always kind of liked Nintendo, is because again, like casuals will play it with you. Anybody will sit down and play Mario Kart, you know?
It's funny. My wife will only play like PlayStation games that are like Detroit Become Human. I've been playing, and it's pretty much a choose your own adventure. I play the game, and then every time a decision pops up, she makes the decision.
Oh yeah, nice.
And then that's like the only way she'll play a game with me.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. I want to get this console, and I'm like trying to sell Victoria on like, I know you like Donkey Kong Country and Mario Kart and Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World. There's like games that you can go to that pretty much anybody that's played them enjoyed them.
I tried to sell my wife on the PSVR that way, and I was like, hey, you can watch movies. It looks like you're in a movie theater. She's done it once, watched Jumanji once, and that's it. But
Not
I have the
feeling it,
PSVR now. She loved it, but like it's not something she would bust out and put on and plug in. And,
right. Yeah. So what was I going to ask? One more thing, and then we'll move on to your topic. Something about the original Nintendo. Well, I guess we'll just move on to your topic. All right. I'm going to properly introduce it because I'm excited. Let's talk, Caleb, about your topic for the week. What's it going to be?
So my topic is, I live in Colorado, where everyone is fucking obsessed with hiking and camping. And I don't understand camping at all.
Have you ever done it?
Probably 200 times.
Oh.
With my dad.
So what's your fucking problem?
What the fuck is the point? We've spent our entire thousands of years running away from all this shit to go back to it for a weekend.
I think you summed it up. I mean, like, that's not the summary of it, but I think it makes us feel connected to that past.
It's literally, for me, everything I hate. Like, I hate being dirty. I hate being hot. I hate being sweaty. I hate being bored. I hate fishing. Like, it's everything. It's like, hey, do you want to do everything you hate in one weekend? Not really.
Why would I want to do that? Yeah. So you live in Colorado, which is arguably one of the most beautiful places in the country. I think that if anybody would like camping, it would be somebody out there. Have you gone camping in Colorado?
No, but it looks just like parts of New Mexico. Like, it looks identical. I mean, we're right neighbors, so it looks like northern New Mexico. So here's the even thing. Like, a guy at work the other day was like, oh man, I was up hiking. Look at this. And he shows me a picture, and I'm like, what am I looking at, dude? Look how beautiful this tree is. I'm like, dude, there's trees all over my neighborhood. What are you talking about?
Dude, you're the worst. You're the worst. So you hate nature. That's what you're saying.
So here's my thing is, even like when people go, let's go for a hike, you want to, and it's like, it's a ridiculous concept. You're like, okay, we're going to walk somewhere. Where are we walking to? Somewhere. What's there? Nothing. You want to go? No. If you're like, hey, there's this really cool bar at the top of this mountain, fuck yeah, I'll hike with you.
You got a
let's go check
destination
it
in
out.
mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I walk more than anyone I know. I will walk from my house to downtown, which is like a 45-minute walk, and then walk around downtown for 2 hours and then walk back. Like I have no problem walking. I just can't wrap my brain around being in the sun, getting sunburned and dirty.
So, all right.
Explain the appeal of it to me.
First of all, I'm with you on hiking. Hiking, I don't understand hiking because you have to carry so much shit on you. Like you're strapping 50 pounds to your back and walking around. And I respect that people do it. To me, the appeal is it's like the idea of survive. It's like vacation survivalism, right? Like I don't believe in the glamping shit. We take a tent, we take our fishing poles, and we go out there and on the water, and we will fish, catch our food, eat the fucking fish, and it's like it helps you in your mind feel like you could, if you needed to survive, you would be able to do it. Now, how true that is debatable, but at least you feel that way.
How true it is not at all. Everyone I know who counts would be like, I'd survive. You're like, yeah, you'd survive with your fishing pole and your your lighter. If the shit went down and you had to run out of your house, you wouldn't survive.
Yeah, for me, and I live in Florida on the Gulf Coast, which again, a very desirable place to go and do this kind of stuff, outdoorsy shit. You know, we got some of the most beautiful water and sand in the world, and it's so hot though. That's the difference. Like in Florida, you really are gonna just fucking burn out there in the middle of the summertime, and that sucks. No, I 100% don't want to go out in the wilderness and sweat for 3 days straight. But like fall time, it is so nice to go out there and burn a bonfire. Go out there with my wife, who's not a big, she's not typically been a big outdoors person, but we don't take of course we take cell phones now, but we don't take like a lot of the luxury shit that other people will take camping, because that's when I start to question it. Is like, if you're taking your living room out into the woods, why don't you just stay at home,
Well, and that's the thing, is like the only way I ever enjoyed camping, like when I was a kid, was when I brought my game gear and I could play video games.
No, yeah.
When I was a kid. Which then at the point, it's like, what's the point? I don't like chopping wood and starting a fire and all that stuff. I've never found fun. My dad is like mountain man, loves that shit. And I just like, when I think about it, I think about all the miserable time. I'm also really OCD. And so a place where I can't shower is like a nightmare to me.
Yeah.
It is a worst case scenario where I can't shower every day.
That's like for us, you go and jump in the water, and it's not the same as like really being clean, but you can rinse away the funkiness.
Yeah, that always bothered me too, because that would be, well, also too, like you go into a lake and it's different, stagnant water. It's like gross to get in there. Yeah, and you're like go get in the lake, and then you come out and you're like, I stink worse. Like it's like dirt and seaweed, and it's disgusting.
I'm trying to think of where I was at in Colorado that I went camping. It was this beautiful, it was called Silverton, and I don't know, it's got to be a tiny little place, very rustic and very nice, and cow pastures and big open fields and all that stuff. But then there's like springs around, so there's like, I definitely appreciate where you're coming from. It is kind of a ridiculous thing, because it was like you said, we've evolved past a need for it. But I think the big appeal is, again, I think there's this psychological element of like getting back to our roots and self-reliance. You know what I mean?
To me, I view it as like someone going, what are you doing this weekend? I don't know. Going to try out some polio. we worked past this shit. Why are we doing this? I'm such a city person too. I am like, I live close to the city. I like, even in Colorado, people are like, oh, don't you move to Colorado for the hiking and rafting? Fuck no. I moved 2 minutes from downtown. Do you think I moved here to go into the woods?
I do. I think I'm grew up around a bunch of rednecks. I grew up in a very rural area, and I think that it was really big with our group of friends. And when we went camping, we would take 12 people out there, and four-wheelers and big bonfire and just cases of cheap beer, and it was like a way to party out in the woods where you weren't going to get fucked with by anybody. You could do whatever you wanted out there. They would take guns out and fucking shoot them. And like, you could just, it's like you can get rid of all, because by going back, you're like kind of getting rid of all of these laws and restrictions, and you have pretty much freedom to do whatever you want within reason.
See, I understand people who I don't understand it personally for me, but I understand people who want to who want to live in the middle of nowhere in a cabin and be like cut off from humanity. I get it. They want a simpler way of life. Go for it. Do you. But I don't understand wanting all the luxuries and then just wanting to like slum it for a weekend. I just cannot. If I'm gonna
I like
do
that.
That's what you are. You're like I'm living like a homeless person for this weekend.
Urban camping. Now that's a different thing. You go out into alleys in the city and you just like sleep on the ground.
You're like, we're gonna scavenge for our food tonight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm with you on it. Like, I get where you're coming from. I haven't gone camping this year.
There has to be something like this that you just don't understand, that you see people do and you're like, I don't fucking get it.
Oh, dude, I think hiking, I'm almost completely with you on. It's like walking with nowhere to go.
Yeah, I don't like those two things. To me, I'm just like, I can't wrap my brain around. To me, they're the same. To me, camping is an extended hike.
My dear friend Dan, he has gotten really into hiking. And like, dude, like another big reason why we used to go camping a lot, we would get mushrooms and we'd go have psychedelic experiences in nature and shit, and Dan would go with me on several of these. We'd have these like hallucinogenic experiences out in nature and like really help open up that third eye, give you a little bit of perspective on the world and shit. But now he's super professional. He's got a great job, makes awesome money, and now that he's a wealthy white person living in Seattle, he's decided to take it upon himself to start climbing mountains and going hiking and shit. And I'm like, I will never die from falling off the side of a fucking mountain, because I will never climb a mountain because there's a road probably that goes up to the top of that mountain.
Well, I also think too, for me, like being in Colorado, the people in Colorado, I love the state, but they're annoying as fuck when it comes to camping and hiking. It's like their whole identity is someone who, everyone out here is a runner, even if they're 400 pounds, they can call themselves a runner and a camper. Yeah. And those weird things, they feel like it's what gives them an identity and a personality.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost annoying with it. You're like, okay, I go hiking. You're like, okay, you and every other fucking white person in Colorado. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right about that. There is this, it's not like an elitism to it. It's like an idealized version of yourself. Like when there is an elitism out here with it. Like the way that people talk about it. My original like MySpace profile, when it's like ask you what your interests are, how many people don't put like outdoorsy shit on their like, even if they don't do it, they want to be seen as that kind of person.
I agree with that. That's the thing, is I feel like there's a lot of people who do it once every 2 years. I'm super into outdoors. No, you ain't. I sit on my fucking patio every Sunday all day.
Right.
And guess what? I'm not an outdoorsy person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they go glamping and they're like, I'm into outdoors. Let me take a picture of this fish that my boyfriend caught and I'm going to put it on my profile.
Yeah.
Like there is a weird pretension about it in Colorado that drives me up the wall, and I don't know what it is. It's just like you said, they want this perception of being outdoorsy, and it's a weird perception. Like I've never met anyone and been like, oh, you're outdoorsy, you're so fucking cool. Like that's it's a weird thing to be idolized. I just cannot wrap my brain around it. I've tried, I've done it. Like I've definitely, people think I haven't been camping. I'm like, quite the opposite. Done it a billion times. Hated every second of it.
You hate it? Okay, so if I ask you where your favorite place you've ever gone camping, it would just be the place that you thought sucked less than the other ones.
Yeah, it would be the place where we have the most amenities.
Oh shit. So yeah, I there's a place called Fort Pickens out here, and it was built in the French and Indian War, I think, something like that. Somebody check me in the facts if I'm wrong, but like it's a huge concrete structure where, you know, wars were fought for decades, and it's got a campground out there. And it's really cool because you get to kind of walk among these like really old historic ruins of some shit that happened years ago. And it's a cool place to camp. But I don't like campgrounds that much because I feel like that takes the intimacy away from camping. If there's like plots that are emptied out where there's a plot next to you and a plot next to that, and there's 30 people all camping in the same area, I don't like that shit. I like going off the beaten path.
We've done that a lot too.
Have you?
We've done that a lot as kids, campgrounds. And we're 100% there. I'm like, what's the point? I could have just stayed home and sat on my patio and seen other people.
Yeah, that to me, it's like finding a space and going out there and creating your own space is cool.
What you described, the concrete thing in the ruins, that sounds awesome. And I would camp in order to see that. But the camp is like the necessary evil to see the cool thing.
Sure.
Because there's still a destination there. The destination has to be more than dirt and trees because I see dirt and trees everywhere.
Yeah, I see.
And people will be like, and this is a weird tangent. I remember I pissed off people at work because they're like, you don't find beauty in nature. I'm like, I really don't. I know it sounds horrible, but like, cool. There's a mountain there. This building that humans built, that's fucking amazing. When you think like the fact that there's a mountain, I guess it's pretty, but human ingenuity built the skyscraper. To me, that's way more fascinating than anything nature could do.
That's an interesting conceit. I can see that. I mean, it's a different way of appreciating what's around us, and I agree. I think architecture's fucking amazing. You know, the fact that
brilliant.
And that's one of the things that I like about Fort Pickens. I'd have to show you some pictures sometime. It's a cool fucking place. Like Geronimo was held prisoner there before he ended up getting sent off somewhere else. But it's like, go ahead. Oh no, there's a lot of stuff around here. Like there's Coldwater Springs, maybe about an hour drive from here. Vortex, Morrison Springs, one other one I can't think of the name of right now, but they're 68 degrees year round. So we would go in the summertime, bring a big group of friends, have this cold water spring right next to us, cases of beer. We'd go mushroom picking sometimes, you know, there's like cow fields and shit in the area, go and grab a bunch of mushrooms, bring them back. And just like more is something that I'm sentimental about than something that I actively do. I think the last time Victoria and I went camping was probably last year. We all the way through spring, we were like, we got to get out there before it gets hot. It got hot, and now neither of us, we want to get out there and that shit. But when it comes to like September and October, we're definitely going to go somewhere and go camping.
It's weird. I feel like my disappreciation of nature, and even like sometimes my attitude towards animals is really weird. It's because I am so pro-human and pro-humanity. Just like I love people more than anyone I've ever met. Like I genuinely love humans. I think we're just fascinating creatures. And so like I love seeing what we built. I love interacting with people more than would ever love interacting with animals. I'm just such a like human-centric mindset is the type of person I am that like admittedly, I tend to be with nature and stuff. It just doesn't fascinate me as much as anything about humanity. Like humanity to me is what makes the earth great, is us.
I wonder how much nihilism plays a role in me liking camping. Cause, and I love people on a personal level. Like I connect with people individually and I like people, but collectively, like humanity, I have a little more of a grim, outlook on.
This is interesting too. Anytime you meet someone who loves dogs, 9 times out of 10, they're like humanity kind of sucks.
Yeah.
They also don't like kids very often a lot too.
It's fair for me anyways.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you notice that, and it's most animal people and nature people I know are kind of, they're kind of nihilistic. They're kind of like, I don't really like humans. I like people individually, but as a species, we suck. And I tend to be the other way. I'm like, humanity's fascinating and people are wonderful. Culture's amazing. And I tend to be the extreme of the other way. like I think humanity has its downsides, but I think they're small compared to the overwhelmingly good, tendencies. And I think because of that, sometimes I don't care about the other stuff. Like I'm so culture and human focused that I think that might be where my weirdness about animals and nature almost comes into.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a unique take that I would have never even put a correlation to, but I do think there's something to that, is like rejecting society for that small amount of time to be able to go and live free of all of the chains that we've created for ourselves, and not that life is slavery or servitude or something like that.
No, I know what you mean.
But we have built all of these systems that confine us to these routines, and to just totally reject that routine, and to not be beholden to the alarm clock, and not be beholden to your work schedule and all of those things, even if just for a little while. And that's why, like, Victoria will tell you, like, when we go camping, we will plan on going for one day and won't come back till Sunday evening, because once I get out there, I'm like, I don't even want to come back. Like, I just want to check out for good, because there's something about that,
There's something about disconnecting from everything, even little, like I did it little with getting off social media. There's something to be said about that, and that aspect I do get. Even now, if I go on vacations, when we go to vacation, we go to another place in the downtown and we walk everywhere. We don't even rent a car, we stay downtown. But even then, there's something about that, like phones off, like you gotta just disconnect. And I feel like maybe this is something I can't get about camping. Maybe it forces you to 100% disconnect.
Unless you bring all of your shit out there with
True.
you, back to that glamping thing. And then it's like, it's not to me, that goes against what it is, because to me, that's the core of all of it, is to just be able to get away from the grind, all of these things, again, that we've kind of built for ourselves. And social media, I mean, in a way, that does kind of apply that idea of like, no, I'm going to take myself out of this one system that we've put in place, that we kind of like, it becomes such a routine that we think that it's essential, but then really all that's essential is just having some sort of structure to keep the rain from falling on you and be able to like eat, then you can live. And that's cool to me. Granted, I do know it's tourism even into that lifestyle. It's not like we could really do it, but for a couple days we can try.
I think that's actually a really good ending note right there. You ended.
All right. I see you. Look at me. I won camping. Woo!
I don't know if you won it, but
All right.
you got the last word on it.
Well, dude, thank you for coming and hanging out.
All right, man.
It's been fun, and thank you guys for coming to check out this episode of the show. If you enjoyed it, do us a favor, take just a second, click that little thumbs up button down there. It really helps us out. And until next time, and on behalf of both of us, be terrible. See you on the campground. Bye.